Ready to rock and roll. We should be live and excited to dig in. So first, I was just showing you, Andrew. I went on a frenzy. I've had these books in my shopping cart on Amazon for quite some time. Actually, just like every time someone recommends a book, I just added it on my Amazon cart. And then the other day, I was just looking at it. I was like, you know what? Let me just click it. And it was like over $100 in books. And
Yeah.
the family board meeting. I don't know who recommended it, but I got it. The Power of Habit was recommended by Doug Sanson and our
Nice.
tribe. So I started this one last night. This was your recommendation, 12 Rules for Life. That's what you're reading right now. I'm on page 5. That's how. Yeah, so that one was
No
that's
worries.
not an easy read. This was recommended by Sunshine Alyssa Coomer, The Journey of Souls,
Hmm.
and the case study between lives. It seemed really interesting, so got that one. I have no idea where this one came from. The Magic of Believing. It was in my cart for quite some time. I don't even remember hearing of it or being reminded of it. This was also recommended by Sunshine, What Dreams May Come, because I love the movie with Robin Williams. It is one of
Hmm.
my favorites. And I was like, all right, if I like the movie, I'll check out the book. And then this one, Money and the Law of Attraction. No idea who recommended it, but it was in my cart. I'm about 75 pages into that one. I just got that one a couple of days ago. So, and then I finished Who Not How just
Nice.
2 days ago, which was really good. So, been on been so good to be home. So I can like process and think and grow and learn versus being in the hospital where I
Hmm.
felt like it was just tough to be able to concentrate and focus. So yeah, what's new with you, man?
That's good. That's good. Yeah, what's new with me? Just rocking and rolling. I mean, just been having some really powerful conversations lately with folks about their lives, about their businesses, about their belief systems, and just some good realizations, that come through for people. And it's been fun to navigate those waters. I'm just blessed to be able to have interesting conversations a lot. And I'm excited to have this interesting conversation here again today with you. I know we kind of have a cool topic to kick us off. I think we got a question from somebody, and I think we can start there as a starting point and see where it takes us.
Yeah. And to that point, it's been fun for me to also reach out to people I haven't talked to in a while. I've been committed to my 7 calls a day to
Yeah.
just reconnect with people. And I had a
Well, by
couple
the
of
way,
really
just
great
to point on
conversations.
that, I mean, talk a little bit about what you're doing, because I was even telling you, I was just like, yeah, I love the way you're approaching this right now in terms of your daily actions. Like, how would you, I don't know how long it's been, a week, 2 weeks, but how would you describe how you're actually approaching implementing your sort of techniques in your own practice? Like, well, how's that looking for you right now?
Yeah, I appreciate you asking. Right now, this is my third week. So I made a conscious decision to, because I've been isolated for majority of the year for 8 months due to being in the hospital with James. I said, I'm going to make a conscious choice to just reach out to people. So I made a list of about 150 people that I typed out into a spreadsheet. And I've just been going down the list, 7 calls. Some of them it's a short, some of them it's a shorter list that of like, all right, I really want to connect with them because I think they'd be a great fit for the immersion event that we're putting on. But others that are on this list as the list continue to build is people that I really enjoyed having conversations with in the past that I figure would be a good opportunity to just reconnect and kind of see where they're at. So the discipline of sending 7 messages like voice notes or doing just 7 phone calls a day has been the discipline since, and I'm over 100 calls in and had some great conversations with people, and it's been really cool. I even took it even a step further where I sent some gifts to people. I
Mhm.
posted on my Facebook of like to support some local businesses. It was like, let me send some gifts out because whenever I like feel like I'm stuck, I want to just give a little bit. So supporting some local businesses, Amy Ensign, just to recognize her, she has an awesome brand called Because I'm Worthy. So I bought a couple of tank tops that say Because I'm a Badass and sent those out to a couple of my staff. And then Whitney, she has Whitney's Creative Tings with her brand. We got some custom engraved tumblers I'm sending out to another student I coach. And then Shane Toth has like a local business to Buffalo. So I was like, let me see who I know in Buffalo. So I have two friends. I haven't talked to these guys in a while. So just sent them a meal platter from his local business that he has on I don't even know, like a I don't even know how to say the word,
Charcuterie.
charcuterie. So charcuterie
Yes.
snack plate thing. So
You're a millennial. You have to know how to say charcuterie. Yes.
charcuterie. So sent that, but it's been really cool just to be intentional with fostering some relationships and reconnecting with some people and just using that discipline. And in order for me to feel aligned with showing up to the convos, hence the personal growth of reading, because I'm like, all right, I want to make sure that I'm not just showing up and regurgitating the same old shit that I've always said in the past. I think it's important for me to be stimulated to have good conversations too. So those are, it's kind of the approach. And then I'm gearing up for a 60-hour water fast this weekend with Front Row Dads to, be able to even channel some of this stuff even more. So I am on my personal growth journey as I'm transitioning into just being out of the hospital. Like, I feel like I just got out of jail and I'm like, all right, I'm free,
I love it, man. I love it. Yeah, you're going to have a lot of momentum as well here generating over the next few months. So it's going to be really cool to watch and witness. And it already is really cool. So that's great.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And the question that we had was posed by Eva Zoll. Eva is, she's up in New Jersey. I've known Eva for over a decade, and she actually used to be my dad's girlfriend. So she's a friend of the family. And she posed a question on Facebook. Essentially, I'm shorting her question, which was, how do you respond to someone projecting his or her insecurities onto others? The context that she posed was a parent limiting the child based upon their own lens of what they think the child should or should not do. So essentially the parent is projecting their own insecurities onto the child and kind of creating tension within that relationship. And I felt like that was a pretty good topic to jam on a little bit. So I don't know if you have an immediate take, to kind of jam on, but I'd love to hear from you.
And so the context is, how do you help someone like that? Or how do you avoid doing that as a leader, or all of the above?
We'll see where the conversation goes, but I posed the question of how do you respond to someone. So I think it probably makes sense to start with where are those insecurities coming from for the person who's projecting. And then it would be from the vantage point of the child who's receiving it, of like, if someone is projecting their insecurities, how do you actually respond to that?
Yeah, sure. So, if we were to try to break that down, we'll start with like where might insecurities arise from. And I think, the way we want to look at a lot of our idiosyncrasies and our personality, of course, we have like certain personality temperaments. I'm a big fan of the Big Five model, the ocean model. Other people, like different personality models, like, what's the one? CGI, right? Where people will talk a lot about that. People will talk about wealth dynamics. I like that one a lot too. There's the Enneagram, but no matter what, personality model you prefer, they're all fairly similar, right? There's certain tendencies, there's certain traits that people have that's gonna, kind of be their default nature. But also a lot of the more idiosyncratic aspects. I got like a weird light on my forehead here, but I think like a lot of the more idiosyncratic aspects of our personality oftentimes come from experiences, right? So we have an experience, let's say a parent tried to start a business, failed miserably. It caused nothing but stress and strife for themselves and their family, and it was hard on their marriage, and it was, caused a divorce or whatever. And then they're raising this child. And of course, they've had these certain experiences about not being good enough to run a business. And then and how dangerous it is. So they're going to project that onto the child. So that's just an example, right? It could be, my mother, when she was 16 years old, was kidnapped at gunpoint, had to jump out of a car, a moving car, to save her life. Who knows what that individual was planning on doing to her, but how that shaped her and how it shaped her parenting us. In some ways, it's unknowable to really answer that question. but you could imagine how that might actually influence it, right? Hey, don't go too far away from home, play it safe in certain ways, or always go in I have no idea, but there's so many things that has probably shaped in her mind, right, that's going to move on. And so I think when we're looking at our own sort of experiences that we've had, this is my personal belief, I want to hear yours as well, but my belief is how do we actually make sense of what are the things that have happened to us? And the truth is, a lot of people have had traumatic experiences happen to them. Whether it is a very clearly traumatic, or maybe it's not even something that, they even realize that their nervous system and their psyche reacted in a certain way, but it actually created, insecurities or protection tendencies in them. And so going back, examining those moments, and actually almost from this vantage point later, from a more mature version of yourself, looking back and saying, oh, you actually misinterpreted that. It didn't mean that. It was an anomalous event. It was a one-off thing. You didn't have to make it mean that. What if we decided to make it mean this instead? And so that process, takes a lot of leadership, kind of, receiving a lot of leadership, because it's scary to go back and relive a traumatic experience. So having a space to be held, kind of safely, that's why a lot of people do coaching or do therapy or something like that, because they want that space to actually go back and feel like they don't have to go on their own, right? And there's someone skilled with them to help them navigate maybe a painful experience, but also then to make sense, because, it's a classic problem where we're so close to a problem we can't see it, right? And I have those experiences, you do, and so does everyone else. So you need other people's perspective to help you navigate and help you meaning make in a different way. Those are my thoughts as a starting point to try to work on your own insecurities. Because here's the deal: if I have insecurities as a leader, if I have any sort of egoic tendencies, I'm going to project that. I'm going to make it a problem in my relationships. So I have to take responsibility for those things. Now, everyone listening is like, is he saying he's blameless and perfect and has no ego? No, I have problems. I have egos. I have blind spots. But that's also why I'm actively always working on it and actively receiving leadership on it. But what are your thoughts?
Well, first off, I did not know that about your mom. So
yeah,
that's pretty crazy.
It's a wild story.
Yeah, it is a wild story. And you're right. I mean, if someone experiences something traumatic like that, how are they not going to want to raise their children in some sort of protection, container? So I like the word that you said is meaning. What is the meaning behind this? So it's like, there's been a lot of work that I've done with Tony Robbins and a lot of personal growth and whatnot, but it's like getting to the meaning of what is that this situation actually was teaching me. So what's the lesson it taught me? So I believe what you just said is that this individual needs, the parent in this case would need to go back to those traumatic experiences and just ask some of those deeper questions of like, what did this actually mean? And what did this teach me? And then also the second and third question might be is, if they say that traumatic experience happened when she was 15 and now she's 45, well, it's like, well, what does the 45-year-old version of me need to say to that 15-year-old version of me? So there was 30 years of wisdom, 30 years of experience, 30 years of offsetting some of that pain and some of that trauma that's been learned and taught. It's like, we can almost, if they're willing to receive the leadership, like you said, they got to have that conversation with that 15-year-old version of them. I just recently had a conversation with one of the participants who's going to be attending the Forest Through the Trees event. And we were talking a little bit about a traumatic experience she experienced when she was 9 years old around money. And I said, would you let the 9-year-old version of you drive your car? She's like, right. And she's like, well, no. I said, well, why are you letting the 9-year-old version of you determine the decisions you're going to make around your goals and your dreams and aspirations? And it's we kind of went a little lighthearted with it, but it's true. It's like, if we don't patch up some of those wounds from when we were younger, they're going to show up a little bit. They're going to show up when we're older, and the consequence is it's going to hurt a lot of the people around us. So, I do agree with that. I also think that this person who is channeling, but before I kind of go through anything you want to say before I kind of go on the second.
Oh, I love it. I love the thread, man. Yeah, keep going.
So the second point is this person who has these insecurities, that they need to have enough reason for them to want to work on them. So say that this parent in this case, like, they might not see the pain that they're actually causing the child. They see that it's like, oh, I'm protecting, I'm doing my job as the parent. But what is the role of the parent? Is that the job? Is the parent's job to protect? I mean, that's probably a part of the job, but is that the only job of a parent, is to protect? Because I think there's a part of me that says yes, that I'm going to protect James, but at the same time, there's a part of me that says, if I'm too overprotective, then I'm going to limit James. And how do we decipher between the two? So that's something that shows up a little bit, because I don't want to create tension in the relationship, where I also lose my influence to actually be a parent because I'm projecting something.
Totally.
So those are a couple of thoughts that show up.
Right. And if you're listening to this and you're not a parent, that's totally fine. Just think about anybody you lead, right? Because parenting, leadership, obviously there's more responsibility in parenting than, being a leader, but, they're basically the same thing, right? In terms of an outcome perspective, what we're trying to do.
You might parent yourself too. People parent themselves all the time.
Yeah. And so, that's how I think about this. And I think that, what's the leader's job? It's yes, to protect, but it's to prepare, right? And so you don't really prepare your child when you protect them, right? Jonathan Haidt has some really good literature on this. If you want to check out The Coddling of the American Mind, we can drop that book reference in the chat or whatever, but he talks about, good intentions that have gone terribly wrong, especially in the latest generations of parenting. And one of the ideas is that, what doesn't hurt you makes you stronger, right? Is, that used to be an old saying, and essentially that's gone by the wayside, where it's, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right? And which is kind of like a common saying from that's been passed on to us. What doesn't kill me makes me stronger. That's a pretty good way to live life, right? But the modern philosophy of leadership is what doesn't kill me makes me weaker. And so I don't even want to be exposed to anything. That's why you have to have these the safe spaces, and you have to do trigger warnings and all of these things for people, because the thought of even thinking about something that having my beliefs challenged puts me into some sort of panic attack. If that's the way you're going to live life, you're going to have a really tough life. And I don't think we should be actually, a lot of that actually has been learned, right? It's like a learned helplessness, as opposed to what we really should be doing is equipping our future generations to deal with hardship, because hey, life is tough. No one's promised you a walk in the park in a safe space in a latte every morning. So, it's our job to do that as parents. It's our job to do it as leaders. And, we really should go back to adopting that sort of mindset of what doesn't kill me makes me stronger. And as I face adversity, I learn and I grow.
Yeah. And if you think about, especially our demographic and clients that we work with, I mean, they're pretty well to do in a lot of cases. Like, they've done well. They've done well with their finances. They've typically done well with their health. They've typically done well in relationships. So it's like they've done well, and they also realize there's still work to do. There's still work to be done for me to reach a place of fulfillment. So it's like, if you're listening to this and you feel like, well, I'm doing pretty well with my health and my money and my finances, like, I don't feel insecure. I don't think there's any tension in some of this stuff that's showing up. Well, that's why there, like you mentioned in our last conversation, Johari's window, right? There's the facade of on the outside, everything looks great, then there's that blind spot that everyone else says, well, what about that thing that you do when you get triggered and it's frustrating and, you kind of lash out, or you isolate, or you manipulate, or interrogate, or use some sort of conflict resolution,
Mm.
that one thing, that's the blind spot, and then there's, so I think it's important for us to be open-minded as individuals, if you're listening to this, to say, is there work to be done? Is there some insecurities that are showing up in some parts of my life that maybe I could work on right now?
Yeah.
And if the answer to the question is yes, it's like, it doesn't have to be painful, I think, is the fun part. Working through insecurities does not have to be a painful, traumatic experience. In fact, one of the things that I've realized is working through some of those deepest insecurities I've had, is there's been a lot of pleasure that's come from that, because I've been able to not only grow and evolve, but I've been able to help other people in the process of me figuring out my own shit. I've been able to help other people
Mm.
figure out theirs, which has strengthened relationships, which has created more open-mindedness, which has created a lot of positive change. So it could be really enjoyable by you working on some of those insecurities. So it doesn't have to be painful. It could be fun, if you allow it to be. So
Yeah.
and that's another thing that shows up.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and whether you call it insecurities, you could just also look at patterns in your life, habits, tendencies, anything like that. Any source of frustration or a pain point, right, that you're experiencing, is kind of it's a cue, it's a clue that you should be looking there, and if I think maybe the most dangerous thing in the world is to think like, yeah, everything is going great and it's going to go great forever. If you happen to be at a place where things are going great, like good, congrats. And also that's not the typical, story for that long. And so in some ways, the way I like to lead people is to equip them with principles, right? And the way we want to equip you is through giving you principles to deal with some of these things that are going to inevitably be challenges. And so if you're, tragedy will bestow, people in their lives, someone close to you is going to die, some challenge is going to happen with your health or a loved one's health, something, you're going to get fired, you're going to get laid off, you're going to have a change in the economy that's going to, throw your business for a loop, as has happened recently for a lot of my clients. But it's a lot of what you need is the principles to know how to navigate that. And it's not just about like, how do we get you where you want to go? Yes, let's get you where you want to go, but also equip you for the journey, because it's much more of like the hero's journey than it is like just a romantic comedy. It's much more like Lord of the Rings, and not like, I don't know, what's a romantic comedy? How to lose a guy in 10 days. Okay. I don't know why we both thought of that one. I guess we're Matthew McConaughey fans.
Yes.
But it's like, it's much more like there's some like dangerous things on the path, right? There you go. There's some dangerous things on the path, as you're questing to go slay the dragon. And, so we need to equip you on how to do that. It doesn't mean it can't be fun, of course. Let's make it as fun and enjoyable as possible. But the end goal isn't just like the comfort that you're going to experience, because I know a ton of people who've gotten all the material wealth that they've, ever could want, but they don't have the relationships they want. They don't have the health they want. They don't have, the meaning in their lives. So we want to try to serve the whole person. If that's, if that's possible, that's what we aim to do.
I just had a conversation with someone, and I used Jim Rohn's analogy of the seasons of life. And essentially my interpretation of what Andrew's saying and what I was able to use in this conversation was, winter shows up unexpectedly, whether that you're using your word is tragedy. Mm-hmm. So if we are not using the fall season to harvest or to like, we enjoy the harvest, it's like we worked hard in spring, we planted everything, and then summer we like really went out there and we watered it and took care of it. And then the fall is where we don't just sit there and eat and just like enjoy the fruits. No, what we do is we strategize for the next spring. We think about what how can we make this process a little better? what is the ultimate game of reason why we're doing this harvesting in the first place. Start questioning things, start getting a little bit more clear. So that way, when winter comes in unexpectedly, we're not just going to go out there with a shovel and just try to get out of this as fast as possible while the snow keeps coming down. We're going out with a shovel. It's like, no, I don't fucking want winter right now. It's like, cool. We planned for this, we stocked away during fall. Like we put some stuff away. We developed some systems. We kind of have an idea of what we're going to go and how we're going to process this. So, essentially my interpretation of this is fall season is where many people, especially people of influence, don't necessarily take enough time in fall, because as soon as they hit some sort of goal or milestone or benchmark, they go right back to spring. They go right back to working. And then if winter comes in while we're in the middle of spring, we never took the time for fall. That's where we don't know how to sit still. We're so I would say spring and summer are very masculine type of seasons, where that fall is more that feminine season, where we don't take time to like enjoy it and also think about a little bit more about the vision of what's next. I don't know. That was my analogy I used with Amber, who I was just speaking with, but it kind of resonated a little bit.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's just important that you're always on a journey. And I think, a lot of our positive emotion is going to come from the, aiming for something and going after it. So, if you just got what you wanted, congratulations, but also you have a problem, which is now what do you want? Right. And you have to figure out what that next thing is. We always need to be striving for something. And ideally we're striving for something kind of in multiple areas of our lives. Again, this is going to be a big topic of discussion for us, particularly on the last day, where we kind of put together a formal plan, whether it's your health, your finances, your relationships, your business, obviously, your personal life, hobbies, interests, etc. And just putting together that plan so that you have a really good, roadmap for 2022 and beyond. I do want to just circle back real quick on that question, because I think we really hit the insecurities piece, pretty well. I also think, if I was advising somebody who had to deal with other people's insecurities, I think one thing I would just, try to help them see is the actual reality of the situation. So you could say, hey, do you think that your parent in this case may feel this way because of X or Y? I think that helping just bring awareness to it is going to be step one, and see if they can actually see that. And then step two is, well, are they actually willing to make a decision that goes against, right, their parent? In this case, sometimes it's a leader inside an organization. But the truth is, sometimes you have to kind of make an unpopular choice, right? That kind of reminds me of like the David Dita, sort of mindset of like, live as if your father has died. And so you can't live your life to please others. And so even if someone's projecting their insecurities onto you, you need to be able to say, hey, that's your thing. You do you. I'll be fine. If you want to sit around worrying for me, 24/7, it probably won't help, but that's up to you too. But I'm going to go do this thing, right? Or I'm going to make this decision. And I know it's unpopular. And maybe that actually leads to some short-term conflict, when you do that. I've had clients in the past, I'm thinking of someone, just a very, let's just call it a very, 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 very wealthy family growing up. And, this person as an adult would just get 20 grand a month, put into their account for just, being one of the children. And so, which is not bad, right? Not a bad salary for doing nothing. They work too, because, of course you want to work. Work is an important thing, but also, was in a way that money was a tool to have that person live the life that the father and mother wanted them to live. And it was almost like an implicit thing, like, hey, if you want to go do something that we don't approve of, like, hey, we might just have to, take away that 20 grand a month we're sending you. And then all of a sudden there's this sort of very strange dynamic, right? Where the parent is actually really controlling the child well into adulthood. And you see these sorts of bargaining, sorts of things happen a lot, whether it's like internal politics at a company or it's family dynamics. If there's something that Freud got right, that's definitely one thing that a lot of people's issues, from a psychological perspective, happen with family dynamics. So certainly that's a pretty atypical case, but you could imagine that happening in small ways too. Even like, hey, I'll stop paying your cell phone bill or whatever. So if you're like a younger person, your parents are paying for it. So you can understand where that comes from. But just advising that person to see that this isn't your problem, it's theirs, and it's theirs to deal with. And then secondly, hey, are you willing to make an unpopular decision? And in some ways, maybe not sever the relationship, but put the relationship in its proper place. Because you're coming into adulthood, it seems like in this question. So,
and sometimes it takes a little bit of courage for the follower to lead the leader, and
sure.
and from what you're saying is it's an unpopular choice to cut off from or decide, or and there's going to be a consequence from that. But sometimes that consequence might be short term where there's tension, but the long term is this person goes on their own, kind of separates from the relationship for a little bit, learns, develops, grows, and realizes, oh my gosh, all the stories that I've learned all through childhood, not all, like some of them don't serve me anymore. Like, oh my gosh, like my mom my whole life said, you better wear a coat so you don't catch pneumonia. It's like, I get it, but I don't think I don't know if those, I don't know if that's story is like really that true. And that's why I put on my Facebook a little bit ago. It's like, what's all the stuff we've heard growing up that we like, is that really like the truth? I started even questioning, why do we say God bless you? Like where does that come from? Like, I'm like on this curiosity kick right now.
It.
Like, why? Where does this come from? And then, and it's almost like even with the God bless you, it's like society, it would be weird to not say it. It's rude to not say it, but where did it come from? Like some people say it's like your heart stops. So it's like, oh, or some people say, if when you sneeze, the devil's coming in. Yes, you got to say it fast. So he kind of gets it out. Like there's all these like myths around it, but it's like, but I'm still going to say God bless you. And now that I got curious, it's like, I don't know if I necessarily buy into it much. I almost want to come up with a different phrase that makes sense, that really aligns with me. But that's
that's a Seinfeld episode, right? Have you ever watched that? The Seinfeld
No,
episode?
I haven't.
I'll have to send it to you. Yeah. I think they had the same discussion, and then they arrive at like, you're so good looking, right? When someone sneezes or something like that.
Nice. No, I would like that. I would like that. But at least if this person separates a little bit from the relationship, takes a pivot, says, you know what, I love you, and because I love you, I'm going to stand over here. I'm going to go search. I'm going to cut off from, and I'm going to suffer the consequences. I don't know what that means and what that looks like, but I do know is that level of independence, that feeling of authenticity, that I'm able to trust my own decision making. That's what's going to create self-confidence, and that self-confidence will carry that person into the next chapter. And I don't think enough people are willing to do that because they don't because they're not raised in the environment to have the courage, like you said, because they were raised to be protected. But we're trying to invite courage, and I think if we're stay at it long enough, the next chapter will reveal itself. The next opportunity will present itself. But the opportunity won't present itself if we're constantly playing scared.
Right. I mean, independence, should be an optimum goal, right? I'm not saying we should be like try to do everything on our own. It's we want to receive help, but ultimately, codependence. The lesson here is like it takes two to tango with codependence. So you can't really create like a codependent relationship with somebody without you actually kind of secretly being in on the game. Right. So if you are caught in sort of that codependent sort of situation, then some part of you is actually conspiring, in the situation to bring about the circumstances that you're going through. So I think that's one of the good
And how
questions.
often does that happen in a relationship, in an
Oh,
intimate
all the time,
relationship?
all the time, right? Yeah, exactly. And I think, it's one of those things. I think that, you know, that's codependence is something that happens in all sorts of relationships. Again, business relationships. A big one is parental, right, and to child, because technically, like, the kid really is dependent for so long, right? Think about like how dependent James is on you right now. I mean, he
Yeah.
is dependent on you fully right now, and also there will come a time where he's not, but sometimes that habit persists, right? And parents like to be needed, right? It feels good to be needed, and
Ooh.
they don't want to give up that feeling, right?
Yeah.
And so it happens in relationships too, right? Hey, you have this bad habit. So I'm going to go do this other thing that's I know is also bad. And then I'm going to say, but you also do this. And that way we can both get away with our weaknesses and not have to work on them together. Deal, right? That's basically like what your subconscious is saying to your partner when you do that. So
Yeah.
this is like some deep stuff, but what were you
Yeah.
going to say?
Well, I love what you said about the need. They're trying to satisfy a certain need. There's the different, there's certainty,
Yeah.
uncertainty, love, and significance, and contribution and growth. And it's like, if we know which need the parent is trying to, or the person in the relationship is trying to satisfy, then we can know it's probably one of the lower frequency needs that they're trying to satisfy. Usually it would be a person of significance. It's like, I'm in charge, I am the decision maker here, or this need for certainty of like, I need to be in control. So I need to be in control, and I need all the recognition, control and recognition, significance or certainty. It's like, well, if you do that and you're always there, then all the beautiful things that happen through variety and change and all those beautiful gifts in life, and also love and connection of like getting to go deep with people, you're kind of losing some of that if we're constantly living in those. So especially if someone's trying to satisfy that need in a relationship, you're gonna lose a lot of the other person by trying to satisfy the need. So we have to ask ourselves, what's more important, this need or this other person? Sometimes we got to like really question that. And it's hard if we don't have a mentor, if we don't have someone that's in our life that can point that blind spot out, like that pimple on the forehead out. If we don't have someone there to show us, like, listen, it doesn't have to be this way. Like, these are egoic traits, like you said. Like, this isn't the truth. This is like the protection of your brain, that's saying like, you need this, but you really don't. Like, you're not going to die. This, you don't need to be protected right now. So it's beautiful.
Cool, man. Well, hey, this has
Yeah.
been a fun discussion.
Yeah, I agree.
Is there anything else that you want to kind of, to bring home to wrap things up?
Yeah, I mean, just to tie a bow, I think everyone that's listening right now, I encourage you all to, no matter what season you're in, whether you're in a winter right now that you're kind of like, you don't feel like getting off the couch due to some sort of circumstance, or you're in a fall season where it's like, man, things are going pretty good. It's like, I got all this money, or, business is doing well, relationship is thriving. Or if you're in a spring where you're kind of planting and building something, or you're in a summer where you're working on things that you've already built. Regardless of whatever season you're at, I do think it's important for you to be, number one, aware of the season, so you could label it. It's like, what season am I in right now? And then number two is, whenever you do get to fall, whenever that season happens in your life, I think it's important for you to be intentional with how you're going to approach fall season, so you don't just spend all your money. You don't just go blow it on everything, so that we got to get right back into spring. You don't actually get a chance to evaluate where you're at in life. What is the meaning of why you're here? What is the purpose? Who am I to my core? What is my identity? What is the legacy that I want to leave? So that way you can be prepared for winter, if and when that's going to show up. Because Lindsay and I could never have prepared for James to go through what we've gone through. But because I've spent so many falls, instead of just sitting on the couch soaking up all my profits or whatever, it's like, I decide to go personally grow myself and intentionally grow myself through events or reading or doing some sort of challenge or something like that. So I encourage everyone to do something along those lines.
Love it, man. I love it. Couldn't have said it better myself. And thanks for joining us. We really appreciate it as always. And we'll drop the links that we were mentioning here in the chat as well. And if you have any questions, obviously let us know.
Cool. Take care, everyone.
Bye, guys.